get the big words, right? This is when you use your big words. And you speak slowly and quietly with your big words, right? Because you know that you have to tamper down. We see cultural ignorance every day, but a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to tell anybody else that they're culturally ignorant. So we have to use our big words. We have to prove and reprove and overprove, right? And it's our production code switch. Like we know we have to do that going in, right? Not just to sell the simple idea that this table needs to be black in this room. We gotta explain why it needs to be round and why do we have a table at all and all that kind of stuff. Right. And so it's using your big words. And big is a euphemism. Just being articulate and having a point of view and sticking to it is the best level of confidence that you can bring to a situation. And I think that we all do that. And that's the way that I've approached it.
Confidence, but also I think for me it's developing that relationship with the director and the DP early on in the executives so that they know that when I'm making a design choice, there's a reason behind it, there's a thought process, and there's a reason why I'm pitching it the way I am, and hopefully it's translating to the words that you're reading from that script. But yes, developing thick skin very early on is a must, and like you said, not being the person with the angry voice in the room, because the moment you raise your voice, you've already lost, right? So it's keeping that composure and also that self-respect in a room to hold your own.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always say I sell concepts, right? I'm a salesman. That's all I do all day is I sell visions, and then we execute them. So I'm constantly making mood boards, I'm constantly doing decks, I'm constantly selling ideas before we even get, to do anything. And a lot of times that's when we run into, and I'll just give you a practical example. So you're working with the director, you are doing a scene that involves background cars or cars in general. You speak with transportation, you give them the reference images of the cars you'd like to see. They show you the cars that they have available, but when you go to shoot the car, something else shows up. Not the car that I wanted, not the car the director chose, these things like that. You wonder, why are we not on the same page here? Well, what difference does it make? It's just the black car, And I said, no, the black car was supposed to be the lowrider because it's a character thing, and this is where, this is a nuance that we were trying to get across. So as a designer, I find that you have to indoctrinate everyone to the vision all the way down. You have to check that vision all the way down because everyone looks at a script differently, and everyone comes to a project differently. Some people come just for the job; they're not invested to put more into it. Locations will do that. Not to say anything about locations, but you're trying to find a specific place. They're just trying to check boxes off the list. You need a 2-bedroom house. Okay, yes, we need a 2-bedroom house, but the 2-bedroom house needs to be located in this part of town. It needs to look like it is, and this is the action. It needs to be shootable, and all these other things like that. So, but even when it's not a nuanced thing about culture, it becomes trying to, as a woman or as a man of color, you're trying to assert yourself to say, hey, we're not communicating very well, and these are the things that need to happen. And you have to do that in a way so that I guess you can continue to make other people feel comfortable. When you're feeling uncomfortable about what's going on, but the idea is that you're trying to err on getting the job done.
Just add a little anecdote. I don't know how to put this in the right context, but I was not a production designer. I was probably art directing, and it was a long time ago, and she was a friend of mine. She happened to be white, and she was doing a southern, antebellum type of story. And she wanted me to read it, and I think it was obvious she wanted my opinion. For obvious, what's your black opinion of my story? So I'm reading the script, and I get back to her, and I say, number one, the names you chose. What are these names? She had done something unusual with the names. I think they were all obviously biblical, but there was something about it. Kind of Toby this and Toby, I had a problem with the names. And then secondly, she wanted the story to end where we had a fire, and there's like an uprising, and the slaves, you know, in this scene were looting a very precious heirloom, and they were running, right? And her problem with that was, well, that's a terrible thing. That's you know, bad. I'm like, no, that's good, because you know, after all the abuse they took, they found something of value that they could use that's going to, you know, better their lives after all these years of servitude. And all I'm saying is that's the perspective. That's, take that situation and you apply that to the design world and all the things in the film world. You're coming in with a completely different perspective on things at the base level, and you kind of have to find a way to meet in the middle, because you, like college, you go to college, you meet a whole bunch of different people, different places, and you got to work with that. And then you know you're an artist, so you're just taking that language of art and your ability to communicate and come to an understanding. You can't just go in there and start throwing things around and standing your ground because you have a title. It won't work, I can assure you.
Well, in closing, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. And I'd like to thank the panelists. This meant a lot to me because, as I said previously, everyone knows about all the other crafts, but when it comes to this panel right here, nobody knows that we exist. And it's not that many of us of color that are in this realm of art department. So this is very important that you guys know who we are and what we do. So thank you all. Give yourselves a round of applause, and thank you.